Okay, so we're going to start the next session. Pretty interesting topic too. Growing a global company is kind of difficult, but getting a 100% virtual company is even worse and harder. So let me introduce you to Gabby from Boomzap. He's going to share his experience on how to build a 100% virtual company across 8 different countries. So
Thanks, Stefan. So, good morning, guys. I'm glad you're all here. And my name is Gabby DIZON from Boomzap. We're a casual developer. And my talk today is entitled Pants Optional, How to Scale a Virtual Company. So, the traditional workplace, it's an offshoot of the 18th and 19th centuries to the 20th century where, a lot of people had to be in one place to build a widget. So, before people had to gather under one roof to build things like cars or radios or TVs. And so what happens is that we had a cubicle model. And fast forward to now, 21st century, so we've had a lot of wonderful inventions. So we've had a personal computer, we have internet, now we have smartphones and tablets. But as you can see, we're still working in almost exactly the same way. So a lot of people are still on a bucket share mode where they have to be in at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and if they don't see you working, they don't care how productive you are. If you're not there physically in the office for a certain amount of time, then you're not working, and you'll never go up the ladder. And now, there are companies that are trying to buck this model. Some sort of virtual arrangement is now possible in a lot of companies, but there are very few companies that still go 100% virtual. So here, we're going to talk a little about that. Our company is called Boomzap, and it was started when a Norwegian guy living in Singapore wanted to work with an American guy living in Seattle, who later on moved to Japan, and hired their first employee from Malaysia. And none of them were willing to move to where the other was located. So from day one, we had to make the virtual model work and figure out a way to work with each other and make really good casual games, which is what Boomzap is all about, without being physically in the same place. So 8 years later, in 2013, we now have 85 developers in 7 countries. So we're in Eastern Europe, in Russia and Ukraine. We're in Japan, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And we still have 0 office, proudly up to now, and we will never have one. So a little more about Boomzap. In the past 8 years, we've done over 20 titles. All of them are original IP. We've made 5 highly successful hidden object puzzle franchises and released them on portals such as Big Fish Games. The last 12 games we've made have been top 10 on BFG, and we've had 6 #1 games. So clearly, this model probably works. So what are the benefits of having a remote model? Well, the biggest benefit for us is that 98% of our costs really go to labor. So that means almost all the costs we pay out really go straight to the salaries of people. It means we have very little overhead, and we're able to raise the salaries of people and just make sure we invest in those people so that they stay with us long term. And the rest, we're just buying plane tickets, food, and booze for everyone. So how do you scale a virtual company? Maybe you have 5 to 10 people. You're going virtual, you're starting to learn the tools, but you don't know if it can scale. So if I reach a certain amount of people, do I have to become a quote-unquote real company? Do I have to look for an office now that I've reached 15 people? Well, what I can tell you is that in the past 8 years, so like 4 years ago, we've said we will never grow beyond 25 people. And then in the past 3 years, we've just exploded where we've gone from 20 to 85 people, and we're probably threatening to reach 100 by next year. Right, Chris? Yeah, so we'll see about that, but clearly this model can scale. And we'll see some of the principles that Boomzap has applied so that it could scale the virtual model and how it can also work for you. So first thing, company culture. Now, this isn't exactly news to anyone, and this isn't exactly unique to virtual companies. So it's important for any kind of company. And if you ask what is company culture, for us, it's having a company with a shared sense of purpose. So that culture, those values are defined from the top, from the founders, and it trickles down from your first hire down to the guy you just hired yesterday. And this is really important in all companies, and it's worth mentioning even more in a virtual environment because if you don't see each other, what is the thing that ties you all together? So it must be clear throughout all your methods of communication that you have a shared purpose, shared values. And I think for Boomzap, it's creating great casual games while giving each team member the freedom to choose how to live their lives. So from where to live, how to dress or not dress, or to a certain degree when your most productive hours are, or how you want to make your games with some guidelines. So I think those are the things that bind us together as a company. Okay, second thing is real-time interaction. So real-time chat is very important in a virtual environment. So you need to be able to ask questions, get answers, and collaborate in real time. So what we have here, what I'm showing you is, it's an application called HipChat. We used to work with MSN for a long time, and when that started dying, we were looking for something new to replace it, and we found HipChat. It's been excellent for us because we can separate the entire company into channels. So there's a channel for the entire company. There's a channel for each project. There's a channel per discipline and across countries. And there's even like a little water cooler where people just talk about fun things. So it actually, if you think about it, this is our office. So it's not like when you have an office and then some people work from home, where the people who work from home become second-class citizens because they're not around the water cooler and they don't really know what's going on in the office. In Boomzap, this here is our office. Okay, so having a constant feedback cycle. So the thing that makes virtual unproductive is when people post something and either no one replies, nobody sees it, or it goes several days before or something goes answered. And this is something that you really have to work to prevent if you have a virtual company. And to do that, from the very start, Boomzap has 2 iron laws. You have to have a build every day, and you have to have a daily report. So the daily build is at the end of the day, the programmer gets the work that everyone in that day did. So from compiles the code, gets all the assets, all the scripts from the designers, and uploads a build every single day. And the people in this project play this build, and you can see the work that has been done for that day. So if it's not in the build, it didn't happen, and people get mad at you. So you can't be in your own corner and draw something, for example, for a whole week and just show up on Friday. It's just not going to work, and people will be mad at you because you have no output for the entire week. The second one is a daily report, where every single day, every single person in the company, at the end of the day, tells everyone else what they did. And it makes it easy to follow people and see what we've done in the past day and the past week. And it's a good way for reviewing what the progress is in the company. So it's these 2 things that have helped us from the very beginning. And 8 years later, we're still doing it, and it's still the core of what makes our company work. Okay, so use the right tools. As we've grown, we've experimented with a lot of tools, some of them free, some of them paid. And here's just a little list of tools that we use to make our virtual company work. So earlier, I showed you HipChat, which is our chat client that we use. We still use Skype every now and then. So if there's something that takes too long to explain on chat, or if you want to have a voice conversation, sometimes creative ideas are hard to explain in chat. So we just get we just get our earphones and microphones and just do a Skype call. So we do that a lot. We've been using Basecamp since 2006. So Basecamp organizes all our projects. That's where people see the daily reports. That's where the builds are uploaded, and that's where all the progress is recorded. So that's where everyone sees all the progress happening in the company. And we have a smattering of all other tools that we've found useful. So Google Drive and Google Apps in particular. So uh, we're using Google Apps for all our email. We're using Google Drive for files, and we're using Dropbox for assets, company assets for the artist, and some of the company marketing assets. We paid for a subscription for ThinkStock because it makes our artists work faster if they have access to all of these stock photos. And well, we have a few more tools like Xsign and Mantis. And I think one of the important things is that even though if you're a virtual company, you still have to meet up and have fun. So us meeting up is centered around events like conferences like these where people fly out to Singapore or people fly out to Manila. We have our little design summits where we fly out to Manila and gather 20, 30 people and talk about the issues in our company. So just because you're working in a virtual model doesn't mean that you don't see everyone ever. While there are people who live in places like Vladivostok where it's very, we probably would never see them, there are people clustered around cities like Manila, and we encourage people to meet up because if you meet up in person and talk and put a name to a face, it helps you work better offline. And these moments, whether they be work or just personal bonding, just really helps us grow as a company more. So people who like pants and who like to compute 2 hours every day, they have a lot of complaints when they hear that you're trying to do a 100% virtual company, and they would say things like, it's only for 5 to 10 people. Well, that's not true. We're up to 85 now. It'll never work for us. Well, yes, if you think it'll never work for you, it really won't. And they say, I wanted to start a company and have a real company. I wanna be in this posh office. I wanna be in the central business district. Well, that comes with a lot of things like rent and a long commute and eat out. And these are things that we've removed with the virtual model, and it enables people to live really anywhere they want. And it's been great for people there are people we've hired who usually they have 2-hour one-way commute, so that's 4 hours of their day that they're losing every day, just riding a bus or a jeepney or a taxi. And we've given those hours back, and they can live those hours however they want. So it's not only Boomzap that's doing this. There are a lot of other companies that you can learn from. So Spryfox, Joju, who are all casual developers, the Game Bakers, and 2D Boy. And there are also companies who are not into games who do this, notably Automatic, the company behind WordPress. This is also their model, and they're working with, I think, more than 100 people around the world. So this model works, and there are a few companies there that you can learn from, and I really hope if this is a model that you want to follow, the benefits are really great, and I'd really encourage you to just follow through it. And here, just some final words. I guess your company culture works if people are making cartoon strips about your company culture. So this was created by Ron, one of our designers, and it's just a little comic strip about meeting our publishers without pants. And this is just a sort of thing that goes on in our company where you can see the culture at work, and even though we're not seeing each other every day, there are things going on in the company. We see each other, we talk to each other, we become friends, we joke about the culture. And it's really nice to see something like this. And it kind of shows you that the culture is alive and working. So if there are comic strips being made by your employees about your company, it's probably a good thing, mostly. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of my short talk, and I hope it's encouraged you to follow the virtual model. So on behalf of everyone at Boomzap from all over the world, thank you. And please, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Questions?
Anybody?
Clear? Hi.
Hello. Most of the games that you guys make are casual games. I mean, you guys started with Match 3 kind of game with Jewel, Cleopatra, and whatnot. Then you guys move on to hidden object game.
Yeah.
one of the ventures that you guys did was Pirate Plunder. Yeah. So how does the virtual model office works for that kind of rather experimental platform and in terms of the development itself? So how does it go for that?
Yeah, the process works exactly the same way. There are times when we go to a new platform and there are things that are new that we have to learn, and we have to experiment and fail and try to build things again, and then, but we still follow pretty much the same process, and it's this process of iteration and experimentation that allows us to go to even new platforms or new types of games where we don't know anything about it because of the structure that we've created on the virtual model.
But things like for we, I mean, you have to have the dev kit, and then you have to have the game running. So your daily build systems would work differently, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so what we do is that there's a PC build that people use as reference, and then the programmers have the dev kits and they compile there. Alan, would you like to say more?
The every game we do, there's always a PC build because they're always working towards the PC build. In addition to that, there's a reference build which works on the actual hardware it's being targeted at. But because the way data is being added to the system, basically any artist, any designer, sound engineers, etc., are all working directly with the build, and so it needs to be on the PC. You can't do that on the Wii or on an iPhone, whatever. And then at the end of the day, they just sync it up. Now, what happens when it's more speculative stuff? When you're talking more, exploratory programming, the daily build cycle tends to be it tends to get additional builds, micro builds, patches being uploaded continuously while we're in prototyping. And so one of the great things that Gabby briefly touched on was you can multitask in a way you really can't do when you're in an office. So I've got a Skype conversation running on the back end, I've got 4 different hip chats discussing stuff, and I'm building the build and uploading it. People grabbing it from the server, going immediately. And so the work doesn't stop. There's no breakout meeting, stop, everyone go for the water cooler. It's continuous work. So we try to keep it at 40 hours a week. We try to work really hard 40 hours a week and then go and enjoy ourselves afterwards.
Any more questions?
We still have like a few minutes. No? No more questions?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello
How
there.
do you train staff to deal with daily reports?
We tell them it's required, and we yell at them loudly if they don't do it. And then they still don't do it, they get fired. So usually people don't like to get fired, so they do it.
So you yell on Skype?
Sure they hear you.
Actually, we use caps lock a lot. We try not to yell in Skype, but people understand caps lock. Yeah, keyboards are broken from time to time, but yeah, caps lock is a very powerful thing. Yeah, we're a company that's very direct with each other, and it's probably because the founders are not originally from Asia, because with a lot of Asian cultures, you tend to not be very direct. I can tell you this is true in Filipino cultures, where you're mad at someone, but you don't want to yell at them because they might sulk in a corner and be unproductive for the rest of the week. The company is not like that at all, and we're very direct, and we're very caps locky, and people yell at each other if they do bad things, but we always keep it towards the work. It's never personal. And this sort of honesty and being direct with each other has really helped us with just going about our work. Yeah, because where a virtual model usually breaks down is in the feedback cycle, especially if you're working across time zones. So that's the thing that you have to be most careful about.
Do you guys have like high score charts for who break the bills most? No. So you guys
No.
don't keep count who break the bills. Okay.
I think we have
Yes.
I think it
anyone?
was the last question. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby.
Oh, all right. Thanks, everyone.